about the running backs, Fabs, and some guys that could start for you this week.
Bucky Irving, good stat line last week against Dallas, 18 points. He's got Carolina coming up next. Their defense has allowed 17 plus points to running backs 10 times this year. And we've also seen their defense allow the 5th most fantasy points to running backs over the last 8 weeks. So Bucky Irving is in a good spot. And of course, the Buccaneers have a lot on the line. And I got Breece Hall as a start this week. And I know the last couple of weeks I've told you to try to avoid him if you can. And really his numbers have been great. 27 combined fantasy points. I mean, that's mid. But last week he saw 40% of the backfield touches. And the Bills defense, 141 scrimmage yards allowed and the 7th most fantasy points allowed to running backs in the last 8 weeks. And if the weather is lousy in Buffalo and it's raining, they're going to run the ball. So I don't mind Breece Hall this week. I'm not saying he's elite because he's not, but he's in that RB2 conversation.
RB2. Okay. Who's outside that probably?
Yeah, Rico. Rico, who did not perform last week against the Buccaneers. And Lindsay, I don't look at other people's work for the most part. I don't like to look at it. But I have been peeking at some other rankings, and everyone's got Rico Dowdle. They had him ranked high last week, and they also have Chuba Hubbard ranked high this week. They're not seeing that the Buccaneers defense has actually been really tough against running backs lately. Anyways, I digress. Rico Dowdle, stinker last week. He's got Philly this week. They've given up 3 touchdowns, 3.6 yards per rush, and the fewest points per game to running backs over the last 8 weeks. So Rico is a big-time risk this week. And then Tony Pollard. The matchup's great. It's great. I mean, the Jaguars are awful against running backs. But Pollard has consistently missed practice for the most part in 2 or 3 straight weeks. He's dealing with the injury. He played only 23 snaps last week. That was a season low. And Tajay Spears has scored over 20 points in 2 straight weeks. So if I'm looking at the last 2 weeks, and I understand that it's a small sample size and that Pollard's got incentive that he wants to reach, but Tajay Spears, I think, is a better play.